Welcome back to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is August 8th, 2020, and this is episode 61. Today we're going to take a look at Vampire, the Masquerade. This one's called Winter's Teeth, this section here. Now, I'm really impressed with this. This is one of those surprises that you always hope to find when you go to the comic book store, but you never quite seem to find it. This time I feel like I struck gold on this. This one is going to be looks like a really strong book. I understand from what I can see, what I've done research on, that this is actually based on some kind of role-playing game. I don't think there's any kind of TV show or video game out on it or books in before this, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I just couldn't find anything. I didn't do a real deep dive or anything. So from what I see, there's no reviews out there on this. So this is the first one. I thought it was really strong, and it's actually 2 stories, not just one, which surprised me. I thought it was just going to be one. It's 27 pages, $3.99. I actually liked the alternative cover more, but it was $1 more, and I don't keep my books. And I didn't know if this book would be any good as well, but it is super good. I'm really impressed. Good story, good characters. The characters seem to have depth and dimension. They're based on role playing, so I think that might be part of them, as they're fleshed out a little bit better than normally. And some good writers on this, and the art is okay. I'm not going to give it a thumbs up, but art in the first story I didn't like as much as I did in the second story. So let's look at the credits here. Like I said, it was two stories. First one was Winter's Teeth, and then the other one's the Anarch Tales, which I think they might both come together. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking that. Tim Seeley is the writer. I think he's written a lot of things before. Dev Malya Pramanik is the artist. And on the second story, it's Teeny Howard and Blake Howard, drawn by Nathan Gooden. And I'm not familiar with either one of those artists at all. It is put out by Vault, which they seem to be doing a lot of vampire or supernatural things. I know I've looked at reviews and previews for it in the past, but I've never done a Vault comic before. So this is my first Tim Seeley book that I can remember. So we'll take a look at this really, really quickly. Like I said, these stories got a lot of depth and there's a lot going on, and I read it very closely. I looked up words, try to just kind of piece things together. So starts out, there's this person running through a rail yard. Apparently they've just been bit by a vampire and they're running to get away. They hop this fence that's very high and they land in a coal car of a train that's moving away, and then automatically we move over to Minneapolis, and we've got this character here, very interesting character. Her name is, let me see if I can remember it. Oh boy, I'm trying to blank. Oh, Cecily. I believe that's how you say it. Cecily. It looks like Cecile with a Y at the end. So she is kind of like a Blade type character, but instead of working for the human element, she actually works for a vampire clan, keeping everything in order as they've asked her to do, and also to hunt down renegade vampires. They call them wild, or the Anarch is another word that they use in here. As part of her payment for doing this, she is allowed to she's not forced to joining the clan. They talk about the 13th clan, the Canaanites. It's one of the 13th clans of vampirism. I'm not real familiar with vampirism at all, but they're out there. So it starts out, she's talking to the clan's accountant, who's this very large black fellow who isn't a vampire himself. He is a vampire. he has a girlfriend that's a blogger, an influencer, and so I guess since she is human still, and she knows he's a vampire, that kind of creates a little bit of conflict there because they don't want it spread out that everybody knows that there is vampires around in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and there's also one prince. She's actually a woman. They call her a prince. There's one prince, and I don't know if that's a nod to Prince or not, because he came from Minneapolis, that oversees both Minneapolis and St. Paul. They're talking about breaking up the two cities and give two fiefdoms with two different princes. But right now it's just under one prince. And so she's also the enforcer. They call her the sheriff, enforcer, the Bruja. They have all these different names. But so anyway, she does a little bit of interviewing with the accountant, and she decides the best thing to do is to kill the girlfriend, which she does very quickly. Drains all of her blood so she can't become a vampire. And last minute, I guess because and I'm not real into vampire lore, but the vampire that drinks the blood can sense the last feelings of the person that they're drinking the blood of. And so the accountant guy asks her, what was she thinking? And he says, yes, she loved you, and she was loyal to you and wouldn't have told, but she couldn't take the chance, so she did it anyway. She's very, very thorough. Okay. Then she goes back into town, meets up with this gentleman named Calder, who's also a vampire, and he's mixing some kind of blood potion and has souls in it. They're all immortal, but they do not have souls. And he's the one that sent her out on these jobs, and he pays her off and whatnot. Now he mentions that things might get a little bit more hairy in the coming days. And get a little bit. I think that's probably a Minneapolis landmark in that picture, but it's drawn pretty good. I don't like the way Cecilia looks, or Cecily looks. She kind of looks kind of unattractive, kind of mannish. You can get some other shots of her after she's bought. Sometimes she looks a little better in some of the pictures. But here's the twist, okay? The twist is Cecilia has a sister who's not a vampire, who has aged, and there's a good backstory in it. It's in the back of the book. Very good backstory. Just they give you a lot of good backstory in the back of the book. It's just great. Yeah, it's not part of the comic itself. Her sister's older, and she's got dementia. She's got Alzheimer's, and she's just getting older, and she's forgetting things. So what they've done is she's got a caretaker for her during the day named Irma, and Irma thinks Cecilia is actually her sister's niece. I know it's a little confusing. It took me a while to read that. But since she's got immortality, she's not aging, and she's actually older than the sister that looks very old here. She grew up in like 1952, or was born in 1952 or so. So what we got going on here, girl's taking care of her. She's got dementia. She doesn't really know what's going on. So the babysitter, or the day sitter, I guess, leaves. And her sister gets all dressed up, like go out on the town. But I think she's pretty old. I want to say she's like mid-60s or so. And of course, Cecilia still looks like she's 20, 25, somewhere in there. So she does not take her out, obviously. And you can kind of see her going in and out of rationalize what's going on. This is the older sister. She actually looks very aged all of a sudden. And Cecilia contemplates biting her to give her immortality, but it will turn her into a beast rather than someone that's thought, because she has the Alzheimer's and whatnot. She'll be just hungering for blood all the time. So she keeps from doing that. And she goes out, makes her rounds. She's always checking on her territories, and she comes across the woman that had jumped on the rail cars, and she says her name's Alejandra. So instead of killing her, she takes her back to her house. She realizes she's been bitten. She has some blood in the refrigerator. She gives it to her. She says she doesn't know if she's going to make it through the night. She's welcome to stay. So she lets her stay. She's trying to decide whether to kill her or not, actually. Well, it turns out there's a little twist here. And I'm not going to give it all away because this is like a really good story. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. Turns out she's got some other things going on, which ends this story. For now, it's to be continued, and then it brings up the other story, the Anarch, with this other woman. So there's a lot of women in here. This one has got more men interceding. They're kind of, these are the rebel vampires who are out in the wilderness, but they are going to make their way into Minneapolis. They got hired for a job to investigate a murder, and some guy named Mr. Hate. And it kind of goes in a little backstory about how she became a vampire. But she's actually because they call her thin blood or something, and so she's able to subsist during the day and night. She doesn't have to sleep during the day. She can go out in the sunlight and it just gives her a little headache. But she's taking care of some of these other people in here. There's a guy named King Rat, and he kind of looks like a rat a little bit more than Priscilla. And then her husband, who I guess is a real dog, and he's portrayed as a dog here. She actually kicks him and then he changes back to human. That's Mitch is his name. So there's a little backstory. You can go and read more about that. So they said, let's go to Minneapolis. And as they're driving away, someone is following them. So that's the end of this second story. It's very short. It's only 7 pages. The first story is 20 pages. And then, like I said, it gives you this nice backstory for both characters, both stories, for Colleen Pendergrass, who is the Thin Blood, and Cecilia Bain, who is the Enforcer, the blade-like character. I can't say enough about it. This is the next one. It looks like perhaps Cecilia's sister gets bit. That's what I'm seeing here, because she looks a little whacked out. So I'm thinking that's going to be the next issue. And I'm thinking these two stories will intersect at some point. Maybe not, but all in all, very good. I highly recommend this. I know I don't have a big draw on my channel. It's a shame, because more people need to know about this comic. I think they'd really enjoy it. I think they'd really get into it. I'm not really into vampires even. That's not really my thing, but just the backstory and the mysteries and the kingdoms and things like that are going on. It'd be a setting for almost anything, even, besides just vampires. So that is drawing me in. I'm sticking with this. You will see me do a review of issue 2. So thank you for stopping by. Tell your friends. Go out and check this out. I think you'd like it. I give it my highest recommendation. I'm hoping the story is as good as the first issue going forward. So hopefully we'll get that. This is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes. Thanks for stopping by. Please click like. Please subscribe so you won't miss out on all. I try to hit all these independent comics as much as possible, not just Marvel and DC. So I'm trying to get the new stuff that you have never heard of and try to spring that on you. So subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you back here next time, because I've got a bunch more coming up. Take care. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.